pack. Food and friends with Canada's best. From east to west, there and back. Eat North Variety Pack. 'Cause variety's the spice of life.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of North Variety Pack. I'm your host, Dan Clapson. I need to apologize because we accidentally went live on Facebook first, and that was not what I meant to do. So anyway, we are here. We are on YouTube Live. I promise I'm not an idiot all the time. But if you haven't watched the show before, we're tons of fun. We talk food, drink, art, music, and a ton more. With that said, we have a great show tonight. I'm going to bring on my two co-hosts, Deepi Harish and Mairlyn Smith. Hello, you two.
Hello. Hey, this is like take two, and take two is always fun. Okay.
Exactly. Well, it gives us a chance to improve on what we said before. So with that in mind, and also, whenever you make a mistake, sometimes you just want to lean into a drink. And now that it's getting warmer outside, I definitely find that my taste buds crave different types of drinks. So I'm full on. I'm back into my Aperol spritzes again. I love them so much. They are, to me, the perfect summer drink. How about you two, Deepi?
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. In the summer, I enjoy having like a sour beer, a dry rosé. And I feel like this year, I know that because we're in this media world, Dan, I know I've seen them on your stories. We get a lot of deliveries and a lot of new products that are being launched in the drink world. And I've discovered some really great cocktails that come in a can that are low-cal. So yeah, I'm all about these low-cal, fruity, sour drinks.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So you love those Aperol spritzers. I hate them. All right. So we can't be friends anymore. I know.
Mairlyn, you've said that a lot lately about not being friends anymore. So I'm starting to see the writing is on the wall.
It's on the screen. I tried an Aperol spritzer. I nearly gagged. It's awful. I love a gin and tonic though. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Mama loves her gin. Yeah, because come on. You eat seasonal, you got to drink seasonal. At least I tried. I'm never having it again. Okay, speaking of drinking, I drink a lot of stuff in a teacup, but mostly tea. Although I love coffee, I don't drink it often because I tend to find that it makes me more hyper than normal, but give me a good latte and I'm yours forever. Dan, what do you think about it? And I'm really excited to talk to our first guest because, she's the master of this, but the whole, single origin coffee and tea. Give me your thoughts on that because you're probably more schooled on this than me.
Well, a lot of people don't know, but I used to actually manage a cafe that focused primarily on coffee and tea about 12 or so years ago. And when I managed it, there wasn't, that's a whole nother live stream. We can talk all about that. But there wasn't the access to single origin products that there are now. And people like Alisha Esmail, who we'll have on in a bit, are the people that are really working closely with farmers to find good quality ingredients for things like coffee or tea, but also paying them a fair wage, which is really important. And you hear a lot about fair trade and whatnot, also in the chocolate world, but it doesn't always end up being as fair as you think it is. So single origin is the best way to equate it is like when you want to go to a farmer's market to find those in-season tomatoes. Well, we can't find in-season coffee beans in Calgary or Toronto or Vancouver, but you can find people that are finding the best beans they can and treating the people that are growing those beans the best that they possibly can be treated.
I like that a lot. Good. Thank you.
Down from local roasters,
So what's her? Hello?
Did you hear me?
No.
I said, how is that different from... I was going to say, how is it different from local roasters?
Local coffee roasters?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same. They just use a single origin bean. So there are a lot of local coffee roasters. Not all local coffee roasters use single origin beans. And Alisha will tell us all about that.
Cool. All right. We can't have a conversation without talking about the pandemic. So now that some cities are becoming a little more lenient with their rules around drinking in parks, I want to ask you guys, have you guys ever drank in a park when you're not supposed to? I mean, I can wholeheartedly say there isn't a time when I haven't. But yeah, how about you, Dan?
I've definitely never done anything wrong in my life. So, I mean, and drinking in a park is included in that. But I'm happy that they relax those laws because, when you travel to places like, well, God, even the United States, but, go to Europe and everyone is cracking a bottle of wine and eating cheese and charcuterie in a park. And it's a lovely thing in the summer, and it's getting people to enjoy the outside in these, these public spaces that every city spends so much money in upkeeping and making look nice. So I think being able to do that now in a lot of major cities in Canada is a great thing. Mairlyn?
Yeah, no, I've never done anything illegal in my life either, but I have been known to drink Mummy's special tea in the park. So yeah, I have done that. I've never, driven a vehicle while I've done it. It's like a walking thing, and I have a thermos. So anyway, yeah, Quebec does it. So what the heck's wrong with us? Drinking responsibly. Yeah, come on. Like, let's get out of the dark ages. I don't think people are going to run around being just bombed because, oh, wow, we get to sit out al fresco and drink. So it was like when everybody, oh, we're going to legalize pot, and everybody was worried everyone was going to be stoned out of their head, Well, it didn't happen because it doesn't. So, yes, let's drink in the park.
Yeah. Drink and smoke in the park responsibly. That's the key at the end of the day. But yeah, from spirits to caffeine, I love what we're talking about in this episode, and I'm really excited to chat with our first guest. Alisha Esmail is the owner of Road Coffee, which is a roastery in Saskatoon that focuses, as we mentioned, on single origin coffee beans. So we're going to talk to Alisha a bit about that after we watch a short little video.
At Road Coffee, we are more than a cup of coffee. Our mission is to elevate coffee farmers out of poverty into independence and freedom. This was born out of our first-hand experience, seeing coffee farmers underpaid and stuck in systems that prevent them from moving towards innovation and empowerment. Through our Beyond Fair program, which includes microloans and partner pricing, we are able to bring you the highest quality coffee from a farmer's hand to your cup. Learn more about our impact with farmers and join the journey today.
Alisha, it is so great to finally have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, no, we're happy to have you. And obviously we have a lot of questions surrounding single origin coffee. And I wrote about you in the Globe and Mail probably 3 or 4 months ago, and there were also a lot of things that I wasn't fully aware of in terms of how that world works and how you are improving different coffee farmers' lives around the world. So you want to just talk a bit about how you got into the coffee industry in the first place?
Sure. So for me, my background's actually in international development, and I spent a number of years working overseas in places like Panama to South Africa, Jordan, Haiti. And in my free time, I would hang out on coffee and tea farms, learning from producers, understanding how the supply chain worked from their end of the world. And being there for months at a time and learning from them, I started to see the inefficiencies and injustices within the supply chain. And so eventually I decided to move home to Canada and try and do something about it.
I love that. And you have done something about it, and you're obviously very passionate about it. How has Road Coffee been accepted by the local community there? Because I know there already are some active roasters in town, but you seem to have been embraced quite readily.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see the province and people across Canada come alongside the vision. I think part of why people are attracted to Road is what we're doing with microloans and setting up female supply chains and some of the work that we're doing with clean water projects in Laos.
That's fantastic.
Alisha, so in Canada here we have, the majority of farmers are family-run farms. Can you speak to what kind of, it's not a family-run coffee plantation, but are it families that are working there? Like, tell me the connection of how that process of the people that are working them, they don't own them, can you speak to that?
Sure. So it's a little similar where often generation after generation will take over the farm, but it's a little different because it's really a community thing, farming coffee. So it takes a lot of effort, and sometimes coffee will go through maybe 200 hands before it leaves the country. You have pickers that travel from different farming communities just picking coffee. And they might go from Nicaragua to Costa Rica to Guatemala, and that's kind of what they do. They just pick coffee. And then you have people that are processing the coffee and drying the coffee and then dry processing the coffee. And so
what I've learned and been able to be a part of over the last number of years is these people form really close bonds. And even if they're only there for a season picking coffee, they become like family to that producing family. Interesting thing though is, the next generation right now, they're not wanting to take over the farms because of the current supply chain and some of the issues with that. And so they're actually moving to the city, and there's a number of farms around. There's hundreds and hundreds of coffee farms around the world that are starting to become abandoned, which is a little unfortunate.
Whoa, I had no idea. So it's almost like you have like migrant workers, like the way we have migrant workers up here that come to do a lot of the picking and the planting. That's really, I would love to be on a media tour where I went to watch all that. Okay, so what I've always wanted to know about coffee is from the time that it's picked to the time it gets into like a bag, what is the time frame? Like, is it a week, a day, 5 hours? I have no idea.
We've been talking about this a lot lately with our team, because every time we open a new bag of green coffee from one of these farms, thinking about how it's taken months of work and hundreds of hours just to get to our roastery. And so from the process of picking the coffee, as I mentioned, and then, coffee grows on a tree. A lot of people don't know that coffee is actually a cherry that you pick. Then you got to take the cherry off, and there's this parchment that's on top of 2 coffee seeds. Then that has to dry, and that takes 5 to 11 days, depending on how long it takes, based on country and climate. And then it has to rest for 6 weeks. Believe it or not, it has to take a long nap. And then it goes through what we call a dry processing, and that takes off this parchment. And that's where you have the green coffee that gets meticulously sorted. And kind of referencing back to what Dan was saying about single origin, the commercial grade coffee usually gets blended up and put towards commercial coffee companies. And then what we buy, specialty coffee, any local third wave roaster is buying really high quality coffee that's meticulously sorted, packaged up, and then shipped out from export from there. So it takes, roughly 4 months just to get to us.
Wow. And, I think a lot of us just take that for granted. So, that cup of coffee took that much work. I think people should be enjoying it way, way slower.
With you more.
As you talk about that process, Alisha, have you been to Bali? I'm thinking about that poop coffee. Do you know about that?
I know about it. I haven't been to Bali yet, but I am curious to try it for sure.
I've had it. Again, I've had it. It's such a long process. And again, it's about that animal digestive seed, and then the enzymes break it down to produce a coffee bean. It's a whole big thing, but I've had it. It's lovely. I mean, I think it's comparable to like a Starbucks coffee, but it's a cool process. But I want to know, why do you think coffee is such a culture? It's such a conversation starter. It's just such a connector.
Yeah, I think it's because, and this is my favorite thing about coffee, it's a platform for a relationship, right? Like you said, it's a connector. A lot of first dates, having hangouts like daughter and mother going shopping, but grabbing a coffee first. If you need to have a serious conversation with someone, sometimes you're like, hey, do you think we could grab a coffee? Sometimes we use it like, do you want to grab a coffee? But then you end up going to get a glass of wine.
Right. And I wanted your opinion on the fact that there's so many coffee machines and pour overs and French presses. But in your opinion, what is the best way to brew a cup of coffee at home?
Hard question to answer. I think at the end of the day, the best way to brew a coffee is the way that someone's going to enjoy it. So if you like rich, full body taste, a French press might be your go-to. If you prefer a clean, crisp cup, then a pour over might be your go-to. And so I don't know if I have a favorite way or recommend the best way, but it's usually whatever your preferable taste is. Kind of like the Aperol Spritz versus your gin and tonic.
Right.
Fair. I appreciate that.
You're back to that.
So, Alisha, I want to talk a bit more about your microloan programs that you've established. I know these programs are helping farmers get, again, a better quality of life, but you're also helping them speed up their coffee production process.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. Our main focus so far has been helping purchase stainless steel fermentation tanks. And before that, often coffee farmers will use whatever they have. Sometimes it's digging a hole in the ground and letting the coffee sit and ferment in there. Sometimes it's, some pieces of wood if they can create a box. Sometimes it's ceramic, cracked ceramic. And so the stainless steel tanks really helps elevate the quality of the coffee, which is great for them. And of course, consumers, we love delicious coffee. And so it's really a win-win. And then, as you mentioned, at the same time, it's helping them grow their business and build more of a sustainable business model so they can provide for their families. That's
really great. And another thing I learned when I was talking to you earlier this year was that, obviously Starbucks is a coffee giant, but they actually do some things to help out coffee farmers, that in turn help sort of all the other small coffee roasters like yourself trying to find quality beans.
That's true. Their main focus has been focusing on Roya, which is rust in English. It's the main coffee bug that can disrupt a field and eat an entire farm in 50 days. And they spend a lot of resources and time developing new varieties that are protected from Roya. And then they give out these little plants to coffee farmers, which is really cool. I got the opportunity to meet with their lead agronomist in Costa Rica and hear more about their process around that. And it was really cool to see a big company trying to make a difference for some of the smaller farmers.
Mm-hmm. I think knowing that, it was a really great thing to know, because a lot of big companies don't even care about anything, they don't care about the world. And I feel like hearing that was actually quite interesting. But before we let you go, my last question, as things are starting to get a bit more quote unquote normal, where are you hopping on a plane to when you can? Because I know you like to travel the world.
Well, depending on how quickly things move ahead, it'll probably be either Kenya or Peru. And so we'll kind of have to see how it goes.
Okay. Well, we all might tag along too, if that's okay.
Yeah, you're totally welcome to come.
Awesome.
Especially you, Mairlyn.
Mairlyn's always everyone's favorite. And on that, we will end this interview. Alisha, thank you so much for sharing all your insight and expertise in the single origin coffee industry. It's always great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me. See you on the road.
Yes.
Bye.
That was a great conversation.
Oh my God,
again, it's an industry that I don't know that much about, but I'm curious to learn more, and I think it's really fascinating and important to learn about too.
So I had no idea that it was 4 months, like that. And, it's that whole thing that, the more that you know where your food comes from, the more respectful you are, and I think we forget about beverages. So I'm so glad she was on the show. I learned lots and I want to talk to her more. So let's have her back.
I definitely think we should. So maybe give it a month or two, and then maybe she can give us some tips on making fun iced coffee drinks in the summer or something.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
All right, moving on to our musical guest of the night. Zenon is a musician based in Calgary who released a brand new single, What It Was. First, we're going to hear an acoustic or a stripped down version of the single and have a little chat with her.
I got people in my ears telling me some shit. Why they wanna do me wrong, how they tryna do me dirty. I got people in my ears telling me a story. Every week they tryna speak on something differently. My mama raised me right, told me not to fight. Gotta pick my battles and this one's pretty tight. There are people asking questions instead of answers. We got dumb possessions, two sides, pulling triggers. One's real, one's a figure. Because each of them forgotten meetings been digressing. Simplified oppression every day. Someone counting blessings, and all that's hurt is what it was, what it was, what it was. Ain't how it is no more. Oh, someone's gotta get us back on track. Someone needs to bring us back to what it was. It was never like that. No, 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 no. Well, you wanna talk about the media less unreliable sourcing, unaccountable people overtaking the Dead Sea. This in the good old days, the 50s, anti-feminist just separatist facilities, inequality, searching for equity. Oh, and we shouldn't have to say twice to make anyone understand. When they're grabbing a bunch of bullshit, no one's gonna hold their hand through the ups and downs that turn around. We don't see no change in all that's hurt today. What it was, what it was, what it was, ain't how it is no more. And someone's gotta get us back on track. Someone needs to come bring us back to what it was. Somehow now this is the part where they change the headlines to read what they want. Speaking faith, speaking rhymes, speaking of losing lives, and what's more is what it was, what it was, what it was, ain't what you should stand for. 'Cause what it was, what it was, what it was, ain't how it is no more. No one's gonna come bring us back, get us back on track for greater than what it was. 'Cause it was never like that.
Amazing job, Zenon. It's such a great song. The produced version, especially, you know, there's a lot to it when it comes to the production of it. So first of all, congratulations on your new release. I know it's been a little while. How does it feel to have a new song out in the world?
It honestly has been a little bit of a whirlwind. I've been working on this project for so long, and finally seeing it come to fruition has been like almost surreal, to be honest.
I bet it's a really powerful song, and I think that we were talking before we went live, and you know you've studied in the art of songwriting, and I feel like that really comes through. It's really you put in a lot of powerful messages within this song, and how are you able to do that in the songwriting process? Because, you know, we have a lot of people on here who definitely write about, like, you know, a heartbreak or falling in love, or, you know, like loving your family and things like that. But this is a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times when I sit down to write something, obviously I've written like heartbreak ballads, all that kind of stuff too. But when it comes to really serious issues, like when I sat down to write this song, I felt like when I first started it, I was like really, really immersed in the world that was around me, and the types of honestly political issues that I really touch on in the song were so relevant that I just felt like they needed to come out of me in some way. And so I think partially like tapping into those really intense emotions is like the way that I definitely wrote the song. But I think it took honestly just time and sitting on it and kind of coming back to it too.
Great.
You have such a vibe of Alicia Keys to me. You know, like there's that strength and that drama, and I was rocking to it. I don't know if you saw me on the thing. Anyway, okay, so we were chatting earlier, and I went, I want this question. So you have a degree in songwriting? Like that's a degree? Like what?
Yeah, so you can definitely study music. I got a degree in the U.S. at Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts.
Amazing.
And I studied, thank you. I studied there for a total of 3.5 years. Tried to leave early because it was a little hectic down there. But yeah, it was a really interesting process to be able to be surrounded by musicians all the time, because the place that I was at was only music.
What a joyous 3.5 years to be submerged and then come away with, like, you have a degree in this. Oh my God, kudos.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, I'm jealous.
So I know that you also perform with your friend Bev. I imagine you're not doing much these days because of everything that's happening, but you don't really hear about female duo R&B groups. When I think of that, I actually think of Flow Tree and I think of Jeanne from the 90s. But what do you think makes a female duo R&B group so special?
I think something that makes us special is the power that women hold in the industry, honestly. I feel like, especially, I could say this about any industry, but especially the music industry, there tends to be a little bit of like overrun areas that are mainly men. And so I think that us being a all-female duo brings a certain sense of power to the table, and also diversity, which at the end of the day is what music, in my opinion, is all about. And especially with this piece that I just released, it's all about that intersectionality. And so I feel like us as a duo definitely embodies that.
Right. And it must be nice to play off each other as well.
Oh, yeah. I love Bev so much. My whole heart goes to her and how much she's done for me in us being able to perform together.
So you're based in Calgary. What do you think the R&B community is like in Alberta?
Sorry, I missed the end of that.
I'm sorry. What do you think the R&B community is like in Alberta? Like, what has your experience been with that subsect of the music community in general?
I definitely think for me it's been limited over the last couple years, especially because I kind of jumped into the scene right before COVID hit. And so it's been a little bit difficult for me to really immerse myself into it. But I've met some incredible R&B artists, especially here in Calgary. One of my favorites is actually, their name is Taylor. And they work on so many multiples of different projects. And I feel like there's a really good spot for us here. I definitely think that as time goes on, it grows a little bit more, especially being in Alberta. I feel like a lot of stuff is more geared towards like country music.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that's all my co-hosts bug me about every week, is that we mostly have country artists on here, which is why it's so great to have you on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you so much.
Awesome. And Zenon, do you have any other new music coming down the pipeline this year?
Actually, I am currently working on 2 different EPs. One is hopefully going to be self-produced, and the other one it's kind of like a extra to this song.
Awesome.
Yeah, so those are in the works, and I'm super stoked about those.
Awesome. Well, we cannot wait to listen to them, obviously. I'm sure they're going to be just as amazing as what it was. Again, congrats on the release of that. That must be really exciting.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem. And thanks for chatting with us. And thank you to my 2 lovely co-hosts, wherever they are on the screen, Mairlyn Smith, Deepi, Harish. It's been another fun episode of Eat North Variety Pack, and we'll see you back here next Thursday night. Cheers.
Eat North Variety Pack. Food and friends with Canada's best. From east to west, there and back. Eat North Variety Pack. 'Cause variety's the spice of life.